Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Humanitarian Heartbeat podcast. I am your host, Nia Imani, and I apologize in advance. My voice is a little hoarse because this weather is crazy, but I have the pleasure of interviewing to you. She's Narda Joan Fields, but to me, she's my mommy. Welcome, Mama.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Shortcake.
Oh, Lord. You're, you're welcome. So, Mama, I'm going to read your bio to everyone so they can learn you, and then we
Okay.
can get into the questions, okay? Don't she look cute, y'all? So, I got to say Narda, y'all, because I'm not going to say mommy, so I'm going to say Narda in this bio. Narda, affectionately known as Narda Joe, is a native of Philadelphia, Abbotsford Projects, mother of two adult children, me and my boom boom brother Jared, and the grandmother of two amazing granddaughters, Quinn Milan and Jade Khalees. She is the owner of and chef of More Than Kale Meal Prep and Catering, which was birthed during the pandemic. Its mission is to create healthy, sustainable relationships, one meal at a time. Hopefully, over time, people will adopt the mantra of eat to live, rather live to eat, and be more intentional about their food choices. She discovered that meal prep and catering is her love language of being in service to others. Narda is also the founder and CEO of Women of Dignity, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to help eradicate low self esteem in young girls and women so they can walk in their God given purpose. She is also a published author of two books, The Significance of a Smile, which you see she keeps smiling, and Dignity, Excellence, and Grace. Her life's mission is to continue to build strong, meaningful relationships by being in service to her community and others to help them reach their full potential. That's a lot of bio coming from a lady from projects.
It's just the whole entire truth, but God.
That's awesome, mommy. So the first question that I usually ask everyone is, who do you say you are?
I am a woman who has learned over time and with experiences to be very grateful for the life that God has given me. I'm learning to just kind of lean in to all of it, meaning lean into my quirkiness, lean into all that God created me to be, because sure enough, I do believe that if we are all created in the image of God, isn't that right? And so if there's no flaw in him, then there's no flaw in us, right? And so when we detract from that and use a different standard from God, then we just kind of push him to the side. So I'm learning. I am a woman who is on a mission, ever learning. I believe we are always learning, that we're never done. Right? It's called growth, right? And so as I grow closer to God, I'm learning more of myself, and I'm learning to lean in uh, to this special being who God created with no apology, and and to help people lean into God, who God created them to be, with no apology. Because if we're going to use a standard, then the standard has to be God, isn't that right?
Do you want the offering? Good job, mommy. That's awesome. So, mommy, can
Yes.
you share the journey that led you to start More Than Kale? What inspired you to focus on healthy eating and meal prep as a way to serve others?
So, it comes with time, right? And experiences. But I've discovered, particularly in our community, Black and Brown people, I think it's a disservice that we do to ourselves when we don't take care of ourselves, right? And so here's the interesting dynamic of it all. Like when you go back historically to
Mhm.
slavery and so forth and so on, we were given the scraps and what have you, and we made meals out of them. It's just the truth, right? However, going forward, when we learn better, we have an accountability to do better. We don't always do better, but the onus is on us. Now that we have the information that's going to help sustain us, then the onus is on us to do better. By that, what I mean is, things have changed over time, referable to pesticides and farming and things of that nature. And so when we look at when I was growing up, 63 years almost tomorrow on the planet, things were different and the pesticides and chemicals weren't as harmful as they are today, right? So we can't use the excuse, well, this is how mama did it, and mama ate chitlins and pork rinds and this kind of thing. And then when we look at our generation and we look at the world today and we see children, just think about that for a second, who are obese, right? Who have heart issues, have diabetes, and so forth and so on. A lot of it, I believe, and I know to be true, comes from what we ingest. Isn't that right? So if we don't take control and do something to try to have a better quality of life, right? So nobody knows how long we're going to live. We all have a beginning date, we have an ending date. It is my belief that be intentional and purposeful about making a difference with the dash in between. Well, how can we do that? Stop eating that junk. Read labels. Like I tell folk all the time, the front of packaging is for entertainment. It's to draw, right? The pretty pictures and the butterflies and rainbows and what have you. The back is for information and education. We live in a fast-paced society. How many times are you and I going to take the time to turn the label around and read the ingredients that we're putting into our bodies? Because most of it is false advertising, isn't that right? So those false ingredients, our body doesn't know what to do with these chemical additives. It doesn't know what to do with it. So it creates diseases and things of that nature and ailments that I believe we can opt out of, right?
So is that why you created More Than Kale?
It was because I looked at my family and my family had cancer and all of these different diseases. Not to say that these things won't come our way, but I do believe that when we take control, our body is better fortified to fight. We can fight better, isn't that right? And some things don't have to be a death sentence, isn't that right? We can recover, but as I said, the onus is on us. What are we eating? What do we opt out of? Some things we just don't have to have. When we take our diet seriously and stop being lazy, quite conversely, and stop being lazy and be intentional about eating from the earth. We don't, myself, I had a seizure disorder. You know this for yourself, right? I haven't had a seizure in about 5 years or so, or been on medication. And I believe because of prayer and because of God, but I took the responsibility. I did something different than the norm, and I'm intentional about what I ingest. So that's what made me start. And if I can do this for myself, how dare I keep it to myself? Let's share this and push this out to the world because we're all in this together.
What will you say, what can you say to those who may not have the resources?
Mhm,
They are, I mean, you come from the project, so I'm not saying that you ate pig feet or anything like that, but I
mhm.
don't think it may not always be fair to say, well, I can't go to a Wegmans or I can't go to here. What can the some people do with the food that's in their area?
Mhm, with what they have. And so, good question, Nee. So I don't go to Wegmans because why is the price so high? You know what I mean? I get it. Like I don't, some things I don't do. But I think when we start small, it starts with our mind. When we shift our mindset, and when you start thinking about this is what's presented to me, right? So how can I take what I have and make what I work have? All right. So in the food desert, which we come from, wasn't no store and this kind of thing. I get it, and it's still that way today. Just take what you can. Listen, there are vegetables in the dollar store, canned goods and frozen things in the dollar store. Real talk, right? So when we prepare it, we don't have to deep fry it. How about bake it? Isn't that right? Saute it in water as opposed to oil. So it can be more difficult in the beginning, but I do believe when we start, when we shift our mind, scripture teaches us and admonishes us to renew our mind. When our mindset begins to shift and change, our response is different, right? So work with what you have. Start small. Don't overwhelm yourself, but change your mindset.
That's a great point. Awesome. Um, is that why you also believe that More Than Kale and your mission to create sustainable relationships? So with you teaching, you were then able to, create sustainable relationships in what you're doing in the mission of More Than Kale.
Absolutely. So that's the driver, right? So uh, as I was talking about the labels, and I was saying that the front of the label is the draw, right? So we eat with our eyes, right? So we have to eat. It's just we have to. There's no getting away around it. We have to eat. So with More Than Kale, the draw is the pretty colors, the pictures, the presentations, right? So that gets you to the table.
Mhm.
Once we're at the table, what do we have? A conversation. Even historically, particularly in our communities, we gathered together at the table, right? And because we had to eat, but it was more than just the meal that was prepared. I get to lean into you. What are your goals and dreams and desires? How can I assist you,
Mhm.
Dr. Bailey? How can I assist you over here? Because I believe you never know who you're sitting next to when you're eating, right? So this person over here, they have a vision. Maybe they do hair or they want to write a book or whatever. You don't know what resource I have until we open up the conversation. So I believe the conversation starts at the table with the food because the food is the draw, isn't that right? And so, but more than Kale, more than that, I'm learning with More Than Kale. Bless God for it. It's a trusted environment, right? So it's a trusted space where you feel comfortable enough to share what your day is. Maybe you don't want to share your vision or your goal, but your day that you know that you can just share in this space and be fortified from a
Mhm.
spiritual perspective and nutritional.
That's beautiful. So while they are eating in this trusted space, what type of foods will they be eating? What type of foods does More Than Kale prepare?
So primarily plant-based, right? Eating from the earth, primarily plant-based. But here's the thing with that, nobody want to eat grass all day. What we're not going to do is just eat grass all day, right? But it's how we season it, right? So we season it from the earth. So it's a teaching tool, and I'm learning as I go. Like I do not have a culinary degree. I didn't go to school for this. I didn't wake up and say, "Oh, I want to be a chef." No, like I tell you all the time, your purpose drives you, right? It kind of comes to get you and pulls you along, right? And
Mhm.
so when we learn to shift the mindset and put the salt down, and we can season with fresh herbs and rosemary and cilantro and garlic and things of this nature, not only do we feel better, but our quality begins to shift. And then we start investigating more, right?
Mhm.
And think about, why did I do what I did before? And how was my body handling that? How was that working for me, right?
Mhm. So what type of foods though? So
So
can you
salad is
okay.
usually fresh. Here we go. So usually it's fresh, right? Which pushes me referable to time because you can't store anything, so it's fresh. So mostly salads, like the loaded salad. And so what the loaded salad would have, just to give you an idea of the types of food, would be kale, spring mix, snap peas, uh, tomatoes, and oranges, right? Dried, what do you call those little things? Dried cranberries, nuts, for those who don't have a nut allergy. And that's a different thing. Why people got an allergy all the time? Anyway, stay focused on it. Don't like come because I believe it's in the food. But anyway, right? And so the pretty colors is the draw, right? And so you're excited. You want to eat it and you want to ingest it, but what you're doing is the nutritional is nutrient dense, right? So the nutrients that your body is getting is going to thank you for it later. But mostly the menu is plants and the earth drives the menu.
Like your chicken that you make? Can you tell the listeners and the viewers what that means and why I'm doing air quotes?
Post. So it's a vegan chicken, and so I've discovered, not on my own. I'm not the smartest one in the room, right? However, I've learned to follow folk who are like-minded, right? So the mushroom, right? Where do the mushrooms come from? The earth. So there's the oyster mushroom, there's the lobster mushroom, the different types of mushrooms. So the vegan chicken that Nia is speaking of is the oyster mushroom, or some people call it trumpet mushroom because it looks like a trumpet. But anyway, the oyster mushrooms grows, and it takes on the flavor of what you give it. So just like you would season chicken with garlic powder, onion powder, are you with me here? And different things like that. It's the same thing, and the consistency, believe it or not, is the same. It looks like more of a white meat chicken, right? And so, but it's better for our bodies because the chickens have the antibiotics and the preservatives and things like that that will hurt us, and the mushrooms do not. So yeah, that's a top. I enjoy because it's so versatile, right? It gives you the mindset. You're thinking that you're eating chicken, and guess what, sugar? You're not. Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
eating chicken. Yes.
That's awesome. So while you create this space of people eating plant-based foods and foods that look like chicken but aren't and just taste so good, does that transition smoothly into why you created Women of Dignity? So in that trusted space, your women of dignity can eat and then do what?
And eat and serve and walk into God, who God created them to be. Because think about it for a second. How, if we all have purpose, right? And we all have something that we should be doing in the earth for others, not for ourselves, for others. How can we do that? How can we bring quality to it if we're sick? If the mental is off, if the physical is off. I say this, I started saying it as a joke, but the older I get, it's not funny. You ever hear preachers in the pulpit trying to make a point, and you get the heavy breathe, they're bringing it home. Some of that is not to make a point. They can't breathe because their diet is off. So that's a stagnation in the purpose that God has gifted them with because they're not taking care of our borrowed temple, right? So women of dignity models for young girls, because the mission is to help eradicate low self-esteem
Mm-hmm.
in young girls and women so they can walk into their God-given purpose. If you eat right, and here we go, not just eating. So what we ingest, what you looking at on television, sugar? What conversations are we having that are detrimental to our psyche? There's some things that we opt out of. We'll never know and uplift our esteem if we allow the television and the music and so forth and so on to dictate who we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that right? It's gifted us uniquely with, right? We take care of ourselves, right?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so you sit at the table, you are helping women and young girls eradicate low self-esteem.
Mhm.
How does being an author tie into all of this? And what made you become an author?
Interestingly enough, Nana, aka Smiley, Mama, used to say that I was a writer. It's so interesting because she would punish us all kinds of ways. Like she bust you up and do different kind of things with all of it, right? One of the things she would say to me is go in your room and go in your room and write a story. Okay. So I would go write a story. She discovered over time, she was like, oh, I didn't know she had talent. She was gifted in this area. So she would call me a writer. And so I used to be heavy and used to be a heavy reader and writer and so forth and so on. But it wasn't until Nana passed that I got back to that passion and learning the love of it and language. Isn't that right? Because as I said, making a difference with the dash in between, Mama, I'm not going to be here forever. Right. But what's part of my legacy? Putting it in print. So you can go back as a reference tool. Isn't that right? And so it'll help for generations to come experiences, and in the experiences being so transparent. I don't have nothing to hide. Now, if you don't know something about me, it's not a secret. I just forgot, sugar. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's not a secret. I'm an open vessel. I'm open to learning about you. And I want you to learn I want to glean all that God has for us, right? And so that's what that writing does. It helps take it out of here, get it here, and then for generations to come, it's a reference point.
That's awesome. What was the purpose of you first writing The Significance of a Smile?
It was Nana's smile.
Mhm.
Something that she said that is a driver for me. I will
Mhm.
never forget, and that was this. As you know, she had multiple myeloma cancer, and she said, "If God trusts me to carry cancer, then I'm going to carry it with dignity, with excellence, and with grace." And so I say to the world, if God trusts you to carry whatever your baby may be, whatever your gift may be, whatever the adversity, isn't that right? Quite conversely, how are we going to carry it? We going to be murmuring and complaining every 2 seconds, right? Or how are we going to carry what we have? It doesn't ever, because it's, I think it's immature to
Mhm.
think that life is going to be tiptoeing down the tulips all the time. That's not mature.
Mhm.
It's silly to think everything is going to be coming up roses and wonderful, right? So that catapulted me to write the book because even in her adversity, she was always smiling.
Mhm.
Always. It was very annoying as a child growing up, truth be told. As an adult, I get it. And so at some point she transferred that to me because I can't stop smiling. And life is not always pretty. It's very difficult. Many times it's very difficult. But in our perception, and then we have a choice in how we handle what we handle.
So is that also why you wrote Dignity, Excellence, and Grace?
Absolutely, because I believe that she, being Nana, modeled the behavior on how to live. How are we living, particularly to the body of faith when we say that we serve God? Particularly, our witnesses is on the line at all times. So, how are we going to reference and reverence God with I've chosen to reference Him with dignity, with excellence, and with grace. And so, yeah, I think it's important in how that our life, what we do, and our language adds up. It should match. It shouldn't be, well, you say, but you act. No, 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 no. Let's reevaluate. Something is wrong if we say one thing and do another. It's never going to be perfect all of the time, but for the majority of the time, it should match up. We should be what? Live with integrity.
That's awesome. So what are your goals for More Than Kale, Women of Dignity, and being an author? Do you have more books in you? What's the goal in all the ways you are serving others?
So the goal is to always be of service. Um, and it's interesting in being of service because you're stretched, right? You don't know how that you can serve, but God stretches us, right? So lean into the stretch. What I would love to see, I believe that this mantle is larger than me, and I honestly believe I won't be here to see it all come into fruition because it's bigger than what I can imagine. I would love for us to be able to sit, to eat, to glean one from the other. I want grandma who's raising those children for whatever reason, right? Who's like my age and older, who's raising babies. You don't have to think about what I'm going to eat. Do I eat or do I pay the rent? Do I eat? Make it make sense. So I want More Than Kale to be again that safe space, global, that safe space where you can come get a healthy meal to fortify you to continue to live, right? And to get resources that you need, but never one time do I want you to think. I don't want anybody, it doesn't make sense to me that anybody would have to think, do I make a choice about where I live or where I eat or what make it make sense. I want More Than Kale to be that safe space where grandma, where community can come and gather together to love on one another. Ain't nobody better than nobody else. We all in this together, isn't that right? To come and lean and glean one from the other and to eat healthy over time. Guess what's going to happen with these healthy meals? Oh, you're going to feel better, sugar. What happened to the diabetes? It's gone. What happened to the headaches? They're gone. What happened? My skin is glowing. All of it. Hey, wait a minute. I have more stamina. I'm sleeping better. Now I can hear from God better because I'm not cluttered. Are you with me here? So that's the goal of it all. With More Than Kale, Women of Dignity, with the books. There's another book in the writing. Coming. Are you with me here? All of it is to create safety. And I'm just blessed that God would even think and choose to use me at this juncture in my life, because I know it's him. I'm not, like as I said, I ain't the dumbest one in the room, but I'm most definitely not the smartest one in the room. So it's a God move. The vision is direct. It's a God move.
That's
So that's
awesome. That's awesome. If people want to contact you to order More Than Care, where can they find you?
I should have had my business card with. Oh, wait, I think I might have one. Let
Okay.
me see. Ta-da!
And
Uh,
read the information to the people.
Correct. So Instagram is the little at more dot then Kale, lowercase. Facebook More Than Kale, all together. Email Chef Narda at more than kale.com, and my mobile cell phone 267-255-4025. 267-255-4025.
And for those that say, you know what, women of dignity should be in the schools, should be here, I want to talk to her more about that. Should they also reach out to you via your cell phone or another email?
Absolutely. So for Women of Dignity, it's Narda J. Bailey at Comcast.net. So that's NARDAJBAILEY at Comcast.net. And the same phone number, 267-255-4025.
And it's Comcast.net, Mom? Not
Dot,
com?
dot net.
Okay, .net. You heard her. Don't say .net. Just making sure. Just making sure. And my last question to wrap it up. You told us in the beginning who you say you are. You told us how you are in service to others, bringing them healthy foods, trusted conversations, eradicating low self esteem, letting people know that they can smile through it all. And while they are going through it all, serve themselves and others and their standard through dignity, excellence, and grace. After they hear all of this, who will they say you are?
Huh. Who would they say? She's a woman who tried. She gave it her all. I really, really want to leave Earth empty with all the gifts and talents that God has given me. I really believe that's not solely for us, that we have to give them away. That's how we honor God. So all that God has gifted and trusted us with, don't keep it. We have to give it away for others. So I hope folks would say she left empty. She gave it all that she had. She left empty.
That's beautiful. See, guys, you got to hear it from Narda, aka Mommy. Follow her on Instagram and Facebook. Like she said, More Than Kale, Women of Dignity, The Significance of a Smile. What's the other book, Mom?
Dignity, significance of a smile, dignity, excellence, and grace. And I'm working on the third. I'm not going to release the title because it's not.
Okay. And the primary way to reach her is 267 255 4025. And she is here to be service to you, to the community, to the village. So, Mommy, I want to say thank you so much for being a guest. I appreciate you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, honey bun.
Of course. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to my mom give some gems. You can always reach out to her because she is also a motivational speaker. So, as you can tell, so make sure you also reach out to her as well. 267-255-4025. And this has been another episode of the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. Mom has shown her heart, and I hope that you also show yours. God bless.
God bless.
On behalf of everyone here at the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast, we thank you, the listeners. You could be doing anything else with your time, but you decided to spend time with us. And for that, we thank you. We feel so special. To our guests, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to impart wisdom, information, and knowledge. What a blessing that is. To all of the listeners, please make sure to follow us on social media at the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. Of course, you can listen to us on your favorite platforms. Find us on YouTube And make sure that no matter what you do in this life, you follow your heart. God bless.